once again, welcome to the SonRise Project. So happy that you are here with us on this beautiful Sunday morning for a moment of solace and peace while we come together to heal ourselves and our families. I'm so happy you're here with us this morning. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Before we get started this morning and before I introduce our beautiful, very special guest, I wanted to announce to this village um, some sad news. Our dear friend, former executive director, lifelong friend of mine since first grade, Kelli Chapman, lost her mother, Wilma Chapman, last Saturday. You may, if you've been with us for over the last 3.5 years, you'll remember that Kelli Chapman was a guest on a couple of episodes, a couple of calls where she talked about from sunrise to sunset and the journey to creating peace with transition. She also talked about living in the sandwich generation and taking care of her daughter and her grandbaby and her mother. And so I'm so sad to say that she lost her mother. She had been ill, but Wilma Chapman, Kelli's mom, was a registered nurse at Western Reserve Psychiatric Rehabilitation Center until she retired. She was a mother, grandmother, and great grandmother. There is a scholarship in her name that has been created, and we will put that information in the chat. And we will also send out a special email tomorrow morning, Monday morning, so you can have information about the Wilma A. Chapman Scholarship Fund, which is at the Cleveland Foundation. So condolences to Kelli and her family. I want to make sure I shared that with you because many of you know her personally, or you know, or you've been here when she was a special guest. And she was such a huge part in the creation of the SonRise Project since day one. So sharing prayers and love for her. I'm now going to shift to our very special guest for this morning, Tai Beauchamp. Tai graciously got up super early in Los Angeles. As I said this morning, I said, it's about 6 o'clock. She said, not quite, but really early this morning. Tai and I have been friends for many, 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 many years. She is a champion for women, a champion for self-love, a champion for caring, a champion for paradigm shifting. And before I turn it over to Tai, I'm going to share her incredible bio, and then we'll have a morning mindset with Tai special edition this morning. So Tai Beauchamp is an award-winning TV host, producer, and serial entrepreneur who innately connects and empowers women. She is the founder of Tai Life Media, LLC, which is a media and creative consulting company founded in 2006. And she partners with brands all around the world to develop lifestyle and wellness content and ultimately brand solutions that impact people's lives. In 2020, Tai further expanded her entrepreneurial footprint, co-founding Brown Girl Jane, which is a phenomenal brand. You can see her t-shirt, her sweatshirt. You can find it at browngirljane.com. It is a clean, functional, fine fragrance brand, and it smells good, it feels good, it looks good, it's just good on every level. So please support that as well. Tai oversees all the brand identity, the marketing for this incredible wellness company, and I could go on and on and on and on and on. She has garnered in less than 3 years more than 39 billion media impressions for Brown Girl Jane, and is really changing the game in the wellness and fragrance and beauty space. And it's importantly a Black-owned women's brand. It also is the first Black-owned fragrance line to be sold in Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, and Saks Fifth Avenue. I am super excited to talk about one of her most recent projects, which is her Instagram Live series called Morning Mindset with Tai. It's a daily show where she gets on at 9:30 a.m. Eastern to set our day straight and to help us with setting our intentions every morning. She has had incredible guests on the show, pastors and editors and just incredible human beings where people have come on to share what's going on with them. And Tai has a beautiful conversation every morning. She's also a go-to voice for ABC, NBC, BET, TV1, on and on and on. She has been everywhere, and she just took a group of women to Bali for an incredible wellness experience. Um, I did not experience her actual wellness retreat, but I did experience 10 days with Tai, and it was life-changing. And I have an all-new Bali state of mind, which we're going to share with you this morning. So I wanted to welcome you, Tai, and say thank you for being a yes. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for supporting SonRise. Tai was with us last March of 2022, and she talked about holistic living and wellness. And we're happy to have you back today. So I'm going to turn it over to Tai Beauchamp. Good morning.
God morning, and thank you so much, Kelly. Kelly, God morning to all of you. I'm grateful and blessed to be here with you. What Kelly didn't share, which if you were on back in March of 2022, hopefully you heard me say, Kelly calls me her friend, but Kelly is also my big sister, and has been a mentor, friend, champion, sister to me for, as she likes to say, many, many years. It's still not uncommon for me to be referenced as Little Tai, and I will always be, because Kelly has been in my life since I think I was 26 years old. And now that's probably close. Oh my gosh, Kelly, I'll be 46 in January.
Yeah,
so
20 years.
So 20 years, pardon me. And Kelly has also been a champion of mine on many levels, and we've partnered both in work and in life. And, it's such a beautiful thing when you can reflect on how business relationships become deeply personal. And I also have to credit Kelly, not just for her intentional community building of the SonRise Project, but community building for me. When Kelly and I began to become very close, more than 12 or 13 years ago. It's funny how when you get older, the years just really start to blur. But I was the person in my community and in my tribe, both from a professional standpoint as well as from a relational standpoint, who was a go-to for a lot of my people growing up. And even at that stage, because I had some professional accolades and acclaim, and was very young and as an executive and seasoned person professionally, but very young. So I remember praying for big sisters. And I remember saying that I wanted to have women around me who were sage in ways that I wasn't. I think I've always had this deeply spiritual connection and wisdom around spirit and guiding, but I didn't have life experience, or I didn't have big sisters who had journeys that I couldn't, relate to corporate experience and corporate elevation, because I've been an entrepreneur for so long after leaving magazine publishing. I didn't have sisters in my life who had been married and had children and who would openly share their life and their life experiences. And that's what Kelly did. And when I said this prayer, I remember distinctly, it was probably sometime after a BET award, when Kelly and I were spending more time, because I was hosting and working with BET very closely at the time. And I remember saying, I just love Kelly's light, and I need more sisters like this in my life. And I kid you not, and it happened so organically. I never said that to Kelly, but I set that intention and I affirmed it, and I spoke it into existence, and it was manifested because through Kelly, I gained Kimmy. I gained so many other sisters, Susan, so many other people as a result of my relationship with Kelly. So I just want to honor you and say thank you. Thank you for being a yes to me. Thank you for seeing me very early in my professional career, that really helped to nurture who I would become and who I am becoming. Excuse me, even today. Pardon me.
Absolutely. No worries. And thank you for saying that. It's so funny. The underground sisterhood, Shireen calls it. It's really powerful. It's the underground sisterhood. And so appreciate that. And always. And I think that's what this village is about. Everybody on here is part of this underground sisterhood, that we work to lift each other and to help each other and to help each other heal. And that's what's so beautiful about it, and beautiful about you too, because that's what your whole journey is about. That's what the whole morning mindset is about. But please get some water, Tai.
I have some right here. Thank you. Yeah. And I just want to just acknowledge you in that, because, and the powerful thing about that is that sometimes we don't know what we need, but God always knows and God always sees. And then there's always just this incredible blessing of how things just flow. And so I don't know where we are in our journey, of connecting, to ourselves or with one another, but God knows exactly what we need. And it's no accident that Kelli has decided to make SonRise a Sunday morning event. And so while it's very early here in Los Angeles, I'm grateful to be a part of it because it helps me to set my heart, my mind, and my intention. What I'm going to do, Kelli, if it's okay with you, I'm going to um, I'm going to kind of create what is similar for Morning Mindset with Tai, and open up with an inspirational reading. And just to give all of you color about Morning Mindset with Tai, I started it and I don't want to say accidentally, but I did not, like with my other businesses, say, look, I'm going to start this business. Here's a plan. I literally was in a season of my life, while I don't have biological children, I definitely consider myself a nurturer of people and humanity, and I'm called to do that. I actually am very clear that my purpose in this world is to, help people see themselves, but especially women to see themselves in ways perhaps they didn't know they could see themselves, through love, and through depositing joy into them. And I was at a very pivotal and crossroads in my life when the pandemic hit, because I had moved to LA a couple of years prior to, was shifting and trying to figure out what was next, both professionally and personally. And I started hiking, which Kelli knows I'm a big, big hiker. I love hiking. It's something I do at least 4 to 5 times a week here in Los Angeles. And I, started getting into a daily practice of my devotional, both with, scripture and doctrine, but also just with books that would help to stimulate my mind and create new ways of understanding. 7 spiritual laws of success is one of them, books that I would read. But one of my best friends, Emil Wilbekin, had gifted me, and this is a more recent cover, he had gifted me a Yanla's Until Today for Christmas in 2012. And I started to read it, and I started to feel myself feel different, reading it and working out and moving and, being disciplined about what I deposited into myself, and then also how I received energy around me. And so I went on to IG and I started reading this, just randomly. I have a modest following, but, I would read this randomly and say, and just talk to people about what I read. And then, on the first IG, there may have been 20 people on the live. And then, over the course of the month, we had 50 people on the live, and people were like, you have to come back every day. And so every day I started to go on Monday through Thursday, 6:30 AM PST. And it's been a little bit iffy. It hasn't been every day for some time, but I think we have more than 420 episodes banked of Morning Mindset with Tai. And so I'm going to guide you all in what would be, in some ways, an experience of Morning Mindset with Tai. And then I'll talk a little bit about Morning Mindset with Tai. And then I believe Kelli wanted to share a little bit more about our experience in Bali, where I just hosted our first Morning Mindset with Tai retreat, where we had 26 women, varying ages from 17 all the way up to 65. Little Piper Newton joined her mom, Kim Newton. So that was our 17-year-old. And then we had, more seasoned women join us over in Bali for a wellness experience and retreat that was meant to transform our spiritual minds and experiences. So that way we can come back and live the elevated purpose lives that we're called to live, especially in the midst of all the things that we have going on, whether or not it's family, circumstances that we're navigating. I was a caregiver for 13 years, so I understand that. So I'm going to read from Until Today by Iyanla Vanzant. This is a book that really changed my life. While I don't read from it every single day, at this point, I do find myself returning to it and always finding wisdom. It says, August 20th, I am faith-filled and fear-free because I know that I don't have to know. Most people will do everything in their power to avoid admitting, I don't know. When you do admit, I don't know, some people respond as if you are crazy. Admittedly, they want to know, adamantly, they want to know, what do you mean you don't know? Contrary to popular belief, when you don't know and can admit it, you are in line for a great healing or a magnificent blessing. Few know-it-alls are blessed with the new insights or information. When you are willing to acknowledge that you don't know, you open yourself to all sorts of information and assistance from life, and I'll add from God. Not knowing may send you on a search. It may open your mind and your eyes to things you have never even thought of before. The things you discover in your search may bless you at some later date or someone else, or search may heal, or the search may heal some long held fear. And that is a blessing. An admission of not knowing is a sign of great faith and trust. It means trusting that even when you know that when you need to know, you will know. An admission of not knowing is an act of great humility that leads to the healing of the ego. It is the ego that fosters an internal sense of inadequacy. When you feel or believe you're in some way inadequate, it will always feel as if you have something to prove. Admitting that you don't know is a very loving way to acknowledge that you are absolutely fine with who you are and that you are not afraid to admit it. What else do you need to know? Until today, you may have believed that it was your duty and your responsibility to know everything. Just for today, be open and willing to admit that you don't know. Open yourself to receive new information from expected and unexpected sources. Today, I'm devoted to acknowledging that I don't know, finding new paths of discovery, and incorporating new information into my data bank. Woo, how powerful is that? That's
And
good.
right on time. And
Girl,
right
I
on time.
mean, I'm like so right on time. With morning mindset, so I'm just going to do this a little bit more
Yeah.
traditionally. And Kelly, if you'll just
No, this
roll.
is perfect. It's do it. And I just want to say thank you because Emil was a guest here as well. He gifted you and you gifted me. And I thank you for that. And I just pulled it off my shelf.
Oh my gosh, you should have told me it was there. We could have read it together.
No, I wanted to say thank you, but also just to say how incredible it is. And I used to read every day and I stopped. But as you were reading, it was like, let me pull this off of my journal, off of my cabinet, and also my journal, and get back to my meditation and myself,
It's a wonderful practice because I also
Yeah.
find with this book in particular, some devotionals, are meant to truly just inspire you, right? And to just give you a word of encouragement for the day, which is beautiful and necessary. But what I love about Until Today is that it not only inspires you and gives you a word of inspiration, but it challenges you to think about, perhaps a behavior or practice or something that has been the case until today, until this point. So I was going to ask you, Kelly, when in reading that, what comes up for you? What about that reading inspires you or says something to you? What in particular was a call out for you?
Gosh, I'm super emotional. I don't know why. Well, two things were called out. Being open, and being willing to say, I don't know. Like what I do know is I'm at a major crossroads as a new empty nester, as a agency owner. That's exhausting. The agency part. I'm like, and I want to do something different, but I don't know exactly how to get there. And so I'm in this major transition point with my company while I'm in major transition personally with Kyle and Chris. And so on the I don't know is powerful and it's okay. And I like the until today. It's like up until now, I've done it this way. But today is a new day. Until today, I've done it this way. That was one big piece that was powerful for me. The other way that was powerful was Kyle started the impetus of SonRise. Is the impetus. My eldest, he turned 21 last week. And yesterday I got back from a business trip and he came to me in something completely unexpected. He said, Mom, remember that guy? I'm not going to say his name because, so-and-so. I said, yeah, I remember him. He's the guy that used to pick you up all the time. And I'd be running down the street after you and, begging you not to get in his car. He said, well, he wants to come over. He wants to meet you. Completely unexpected. And I sat there and thought, he's putting out an olive branch. He's, trying to change. And so I need to change. So I said, okay. And so he came, that guy that I used to really dislike, never knew him. This young guy, seems like a perfectly nice guy, and just was trying to figure it out like my son. So expecting or having the openness
Mhm.
to welcome him into the house was unexpected. So that hit too, in a
Yeah.
good way.
Well, and thank you for sharing, Kelly. I think so many things you just said that resonate, I think are really important. Also as Black women, let's be real. We operate in a society and in a world and with circumstances, whether it's familial, whether or not it's in
Yeah,
business, whether or not it's in life in the world and politics and all the things where we're expected to know. We have not had a legacy of freedom of not being able to express that we don't know, because knowing has been not only the calling card, but it has been the expectation of us, you know
right, right,
especially as Black women. And so the
right,
fear that we have of not knowing has, hindered in many ways the opportunity for us to be open to new possibilities, to learn,
right.
to grow at any stage in our lives. And, it's so interesting to just hear myself say that. One of the things that I realized about me, and because Kelly knows me personally, I can get on stage and and speak and do all those things. I can perform in business meetings, but I also have this very childlike kind of like energy, and I didn't realize it as much until this last trip in Bali, because people are just like they're like, Tai will find her inner child, and I didn't know this. And that's the beauty of children. They
Yeah,
don't know.
they don't know.
They don't come with guys and all of these things and these expectations. And I think part of what we're trying to reconcile is being in these spaces as women doers, creators, nurturers, mothers, healers, have to show up. Like, how do we go from this space of being the person who has to know everything to actually being human in our own experiences where we don't know, so that way we can grow, so that way
Right,
we can evolve, so that way, like you said, you can be open to meeting this young man that perhaps before you were like no, or be open to the transformation and the change of business, be open to the transformation of change of who this new Kelly is in this new season, when she's not mothering every single day in the way that she has for 21 years, right?
right.
And so, like, this not knowing and choosing to not be a know-it-all, and
That's
what
right.
that means for us, like how that allows us to take off some of the pressure of the expectation, and then also
Right.
rely and trust God and the universe and the people around us to actually hold space for
That's
the that which we don't know, that will be worked out anyway.
That's right. Right.
That
And being clear on what we want. I think that's a part of it too. So without being a know-it-all, saying, okay, I want peace and I want love and joy, or whatever those three words are, perhaps. And
Yeah.
how do we get that? What does peace really look like? What
Mm.
does love really look like? What does joy really look like? And then creating the life around those aspirations, I think. And what I also just wanted to acknowledge of what you just said and what you read, I was is the faith over fear. That is foundational to having children or a loved one that may be going through something or may be struggling, whether it's a mood disorder or an addiction or um, something else. We have to have faith. I was at an event this weekend and a woman was talking with me about her daughter in the middle of an event, DJ blasting. And we were talking, and I was talking about faith over fear, and then her daughter would be okay. And I
Mm.
remember saying it at least 10 times
Mm.
because we were in the middle of this thing, but it was just like there were the two of us, only the two of us talking privately with
Mhm.
all these people around. And
Mhm.
she was like I am right now, very emotional about her high school daughter
Mhm.
and faith over fear.
Yeah.
And you read it this morning. That's so critical.
I think the faith over fear piece is just trusting that sometimes in us not knowing that God knows, right? In our ignorance or in our inability to kind of like understand or process or figure out or direct and have the answer. I mean, so to take this, and I hope that blessed you all in some way. And I'll write here the name of the book so that way you all can find it. And today by Ayama Van Zant. Yama and John. But it makes me think about that faith over fear. You know, my first trip, well, you know this, Kelly, I've been trying to go to Bali for some years. I wanted to do my 40th birthday there, and then life was happening. And then I wanted to do my 42nd birthday there, and then life was still happening. Then I wanted to do my 43rd birthday, and life was happening. And, you know, finally, I was just like, you know, as Morning Mindset was growing, and the community was asking, like, we should do a retreat. We should do a retreat. I thought to myself, like, you know, obviously we could do a retreat anywhere. We could do a retreat here in California. We could do it in DC. We could do it in Atlanta. But Bali had been calling me, and I had never been. And I think it was part of the Eat, Pray, Love movie that made it sit on my spirit in some way. But there was also something super spiritual about it calling me there. And so this idea of faith over fear, you know, I went to Bali the first time just last December, and I went for the first time for almost 2 months. I was there for 7.5 weeks, and talk about fear and talk about me doing on faith, because I was like, what am I doing? Like, you are nuts. Like, how are you doing this? And I was just like, I'm just going. I'm just going to do it. My assistant booked the flight. And I was like, am I crazy? Am I crazy? Am I crazy? I didn't know where I was staying, y'all. I literally booked a hotel through a friend, sight unseen. Like, really, she just said, this is where you need to be. I was originally planning to go and have like a real Eat, Pray, Love. I was like, I'm gonna do this on the humble. I'm gonna go stay at a little Airbnb, you know, because you can live in Bali pretty well for, you know, you can live in an extravagant, you can have an extravagant experience for and not spend as much money. And I went there not knowing. And when I tell you Bali blessed me in a way where the fear that I had been having was overtaken and really renewed by a sense of peace. You know, so I replaced my fear with peace. So Kelly, you talked about whatever those three things are that you're wanting to really kind of experience and have within your heart space and within your energetic vibration and your living. And I went there and I found peace. I found healing, and I found acceptance. And the peace for me in Bali was really determined by the fact that there you're living with people who really have an appreciation for every single thing. And then it reminds you of the importance of grace and gratitude. I mean, the way that they honor, you know, an offering, you know, how they make the offering, the rice, the flowers, the food, and one another starts to really kind of like help recenter for me all of the fear. And I went there fearful because I was dealing with so much that I was, you know, here as a two-time business owner. And fortunately, I have business partners with Brown Girl Jane. But, you know, I have a team of 7 people that I have with Thai Life Media, and that's all on me. And I was dealing with wrestling with all this fear, and, you know, felt like I needed to get out of my comfort zone, or what I had accepted as my comfort zone. Sometimes we accept fear as our comfort zone. Sometimes we accept the turmoil as our comfort zone. Sometimes we accept the you know, the confusion and the frustration and the disappointment is our comfort zone. That's good. So sometimes we have to think about, like, what have we allowed to be our comfort zone that we know is not working for us, that we know is not God intended and not His purpose for our healing, our growth, for us to show up as mothers and parents and guides to the children and the people in our lives. What have we accepted as our comfort zone, and how do we shift? How do we shift our experiences around what we have deemed comfortable because we thought we had to know it, because that's what we've known? And how do we move ourselves into a different place? And sometimes that means something drastic like going to Bali. Other times it just means shifting the atmosphere that you're in. Sometimes it means shifting the people around you and what they've said to you, and normalize the things that they said to you about the circumstances that you're in. And how do we shift perhaps how we engage with new people to hear different messages, so that way we're depositing new things into our spirit, into our hearts and our minds, so that way the way that we're experiencing even the same mundane things we've been dealing with, our perspective shifts around how we experience those things. So we're coming to it with, you know, what Ayala talks about in the book, with a new energy of not knowing, but with a new spirit of grace and acceptance around learning something different. And so Bali for me and Kelly and I were talking about this. Bali for me really shifted how I respond to people. It shifted even how I look and search people. And I'm sure that many of you can probably attest to that, even in your experiences with your children and loved ones. If you're, because the compassion and the love that you're going to have for your loved one, no matter what they're dealing with, is always going to be love. But through those experiences, now perhaps you're different in how you experience other people who have challenges or experiences that you're like, normally we would be like, nope, there's a different level of compassion. So how do we shift, and how do we intentionally call into our existence and our presence through relationship, or through, physical places that we go, that help to renew our minds, that help to get us out of the space of everything that we knew, to get us to a place of what we don't know. And Kelly, I'm just actually thinking about, and then I want to talk about Bali. I'm actually thinking about, even when you're here in LA with me, right? Like, even when we go to the beach here in LA, when we go to Malibu, and you're just like, right?
Little
Just
kids.
like little kids, literally. And how do we get back to those moments of those experiences? And so when I traveled to Bali on my own for the 7.5 weeks, I did work. I did have to do some work, and that's okay. But I worked differently, and not just because it was 16 hours ahead, which helps to work differently, because you don't want to get as much done. You don't really even feel like you're able to, you feel a disconnect, right?
Right. Absolutely. In a good way.
Yeah, in a
In
really
a really good way. Yeah.
in a
That's what
health.
I felt. I felt that there was, for me, and I want this for everybody, it's like an opportunity to center myself and get really quiet, which I never do, because I've, up until now, until today, or until a few weeks ago, I've been addicted to stress and addicted to being swamped and running from meeting to meeting to meeting and being, and that is a habit. It's a habit. And so forcing, the word force is not a good word, but choosing to do something completely outside of my normal habit, and finally saying yes. Because for 21 years, I said no to most things, was life changing. And I think the Ayama book, life changing for me. Tina Lifford's book has been life changing for me. And so many things happened in Bali, where it's like God saying, this is what you're supposed to be doing. For instance, my daily word. One day I wrote in my journal, which has the Serenity Prayer on the cover, right? Which I say every day. I wear on my locket every day. Um, and I wrote in the journal on July 29th. And at the end of the journal was Romans 15. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that you may abound in hope. And I had just written about that. And my middle name is Joy, and. And that day it was joy as my constant companion. So it was a what if, wherever life takes me. And it says, wherever life takes me, I will travel my path with joy. I carry joy within my heart and mind. And so it goes on. But I thought, that's not ironic, that's divine. And it was another sign. You mentioned Susan earlier. I texted her. I said, look at this. I just journaled. At the end of that page was the same verse as the daily word for that day, that I didn't even realize it. So I think it is life changing. And I encourage people, all the people on this call, because I know so many of us are going through a lot. If there are moments to take time for yourselves, or even to go for a walk, to journal, to get on a call with Tai when she goes live. Follow her and it pops up. Tai's going live. So when she is doing that, it's amazing and then really helpful.
Kelly, I'm getting emotional, because I was so happy that you said yes. So for everyone on the call, I had a formal retreat where 26 women in the Morning Mindset Tribe and community, and we now have a community of more than 3,000 people, mostly women. I also host a monthly hike here in Los Angeles that draws each month about 150 people, between 90 and 150 people. And we've done a really big hike with BET as a part of BET Weekend. But, the retreat was for the tribe and the community. And then obviously I have my big sisters, Kelly and Kimmy and AC and Julia, and just, my tribe of sisters and friends, like my more intimate circle. And, I told them about the retreat, and Bali is far. It's very far. But I just really wanted them to come. Like, I wanted you guys to come. And I was just like, I hope they say yes. I wanted you to experience what has been a haven for me. And I think that so many times we get into our spaces because of what you said, the addiction to having to do and having to perform, the feeling of knowing, the feeling of believing that if we don't do something for our families or our loved ones, they will reach peril, like fully, or, and then we don't do it. And I'm just so happy that you all said yes, because I literally prayed and was holding space and intention, not only for the women who came on the retreat with me, but for my sisters and my friends who I want to experience what I knew would be there for you. And what was so crazy, and this is the funny part. I'm definitely, I didn't realize this because I'm also a former magazine editor, everyone. So I come from this world of, order and, lavish experience and all those things. I come from that world, but I, also have become this person who is just like very easy breezy. And so I'm sitting here, I was like, are my friends gonna like say yes to the things that, like, I'm like, we're going into the temple, we're doing all these things that, are different and out of the box. And you all just said yes to everything. Kelly, I said, I want you to ride on a motorcycle. I want you to ride on the back of the motorbike. And while it was not her thing for the entire trip, which is how I get around Bali, she said yes, and she did it. Yeah. I said, Kelly, I'm going to get a colonic. She was like, oh, I need one of those. Yes. Like it was yes to everything. Yes. And I think the yes is getting out of the things that we may have said no to because we were afraid of it. The things that we thought were going to be, comforting because it's what we knew, and it's what we thought we needed to know. Mm-hmm. But the opportunity to step outside and experience. And, it was so wonderful to see you every morning, like waking up, praying, journaling, and just like, I'm just going to go over here and lay down and sleep. And sleeping. It was beautiful, Cal.
Yeah. And it's nice. I want that for everybody, because I think you're right. For so many years, I was like, I can't do that because I have to take one of them to swim practice. I have to be here. Yeah, it's nice to have focus on self, and to take that time. Yeah. It may not be a week in Bali or 2 weeks in Bali, but it could be in our own communities, having the time. Yeah, a little safe haven or a special walk that you love, or a drive, as Susan talks about, but we have to find that time for ourselves. I'm grateful I have it now.
Yeah. And I think there are ways to like come back and practice it. I'll actually share, I didn't share with you before, I bought one of the sound drums, the UFO drum, while there. Oh. And so one of the ways that I kind of keep Bali with me here, in addition to bringing back all the incense from Bali, I brought back all the, I know you love those, like even when we went from one hotel to the other hotel, you're like, I love the way this hotel smells. And, having a space and creating a space for yourself. And like Kelly said, it doesn't have to be in Bali, but creating a space for yourself where it's distanced enough and supportive to you in the way that you need to be in that moment, not supportive to the way that you have to be in your other life or in your other space. Because I think that that's how we find new ways of being, right? And so even, to recognize that when we show up in one space with a level of peace, what are some of those glimmers? I was reading something yesterday and people were talking, it said something about how the word trigger has become normalized, and that's okay. But rather than looking for triggers, what if we look for glimmers, right? And then we have those glimmers, because glimmers provide the hope. Glimmers provide the fuel and the seed, and something positive, and it creates a new level of thinking around the positivity versus the thing that takes us to a place of resistance or defense. So like coming back from Bali, the things that I try and do to recreate and maintain my peace are, what are the glimmers that I experienced in Bali that can be reminders here that help me to kind of create that same energy in that same space. Incense is one of, incense is it for me. The sound drum is something else for me. Riding on motorcycles, which I'm not going to do here in the States, but I do take those little scooters, those little Lime scooters. I scooter through the neighborhood. And it's so funny, y'all, because I know I look a little bit younger, and people look at me and they think that I'm probably super young. And I'm like, no, I'm just out here living my 40-something-year-old joyous life is what. And it's taking those moments of Bali so that I have that experience of that carefreeness. And so even as we think about the things that we don't know, a challenge and something that we can think about for ourselves, and not just for your families, but yourself, is what were those childlike moments and those childlike experiences for yourself that helped you to tap into that joy that was just innate for you? And how can you recreate those moments until you have that trip to Bali, until you have that week away in a log cabin or wherever it is that can be your happy place just for you? How do you tap into those moments of simple joys that you can create in your life, and how do you hold on to them? I'm constantly thinking about that and, tapping in, which is why I'm taking my godsons glamping in the Grand Canyon today. I leave for Arizona today, and I'm taking my 15 and 13-year-old godsons glamping in the Grand Canyon. Now, y'all, let me just tell y'all this.
This is something I can't even imagine.
I'm not the camping type. We do have flushable toilets and showers, and which is why it's glamping in a tent. But yeah, I'm going to be sleeping out in the Grand Canyon. I was like, what do I pack for this? I don't even know. But having those moments, and I think that's a really powerful takeaway, especially for all of us in this space who do so much and take care of so many, and then also have pieces of our heart that may be fractured as we're trying to tend to those that we love. How do we mend and deposit into those fractures in simple ways? And dare I say, it's probably having moments of, childlike glee and joy. And so an exercise that you all might reflect on today as you go out for your walk or your hike or your drive or whatever you're doing, or maybe 2 to 3 things that you love to do as a child that you might like to do as an adult. And that you can tap into and perhaps try and do once a week, and then build up to do it twice a week or 3 times a week.
I love that. Love that idea. And I cannot believe the time has flown. I want to make sure that we have time for questions or comments from people that are here. And so, gentle reminder, you can hit *6 if you're on your phone to ask a question or to come off of mute. It's been so lovely having you here with us, Tai.
I love you, Kelly. I love you so much.
Yeah. Love you too. Anyone have a comment? I'm happy you're here. Anyone have a comment or question for Tai this morning? I see someone is that. There's excuse me, a 917 number came off of mute.
Hey guys, it's Susan.
Good morning.
Hey, Susan, we were just talking about you. Did you hear?
I did. I heard my name.
Good morning, sunshine.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning. I just want to say that I'm so happy for both of you that I have had a spectator seat in experiencing the evolution of both of you over these last few years. And it's just amazing. And I'm just so happy to be a part of the journey with you.
Aww.
So I'm learning every day. What's funny is I just moved to Atlanta about 4 months ago.
Oh,
And
wow.
I pulled out my Until Today and started reading it about 3 weeks ago on my patio every morning. And that's because of you, Tai. So
Love you, Susan.
actually, I love you too. I have the the autograph that you wrote inside of it, and it's just a great time for us all. I mean, I'm excited for all of us, to be honest with you. So I just wanted to pop off mute and say that. And I love you.
I love you too, Susan. I'm so happy that you're here, and thank you for being you. And Susan, I think I've known since I was 23, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
a long time. I'm grateful for you all as my sisters. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, I met
Love
Susan
you.
one of my first days at BET and said, "Who is this incredible person?" And we've been friends ever since. It's Susan, I agree with you. I pulled the book off the shelf, I opened it up, and it was November 2016. And
Mhm.
ironically, yeah, a lot of this journey was beginning right around that time.
Yeah.
So it's just
Yep.
quite interesting.
Wow, that's incredible. I until today, I said to you, Emil, until today is the book that just keeps giving, because I literally I still keep copies here in my home, and that now and another book, the soulmates the soulmate secret, and I keep these books and I gift them to people. And I should also say, Susan, I'm finally working on the book. I actually am supposed to be taking most of October off to work on my own daily devotional, which
All
obviously,
right now.
which is inspired by the work that Ayala has done. The other thing that's so important and so powerful, and what you're doing here, Kelli, and Susan, what you've done, and in your life and in your career, is we're planting seeds. And what I realize is I've had to come to this awareness, because oftentimes we're looking, as we plant seeds, to see the fruit of our labor come back from where we planted the seed. Oftentimes we're like, I did this here, we want it to come back here. But if we are lovingly and intentionally just depositing seeds wherever, we'll have a world garden. So that way, no matter where you show up, there's a beautiful bloom. And so I remember thinking this, like, I can't be so attached to where the deposit is made, because the fruit is going to bear, right? And just that fruit is going to bear for someone else that's going to need it. And that's what we do, right? We're seed depositors. And so, all of you who are parents and moms and caregivers, and, as you deposit the seeds where you want them to nurture and grow, that's a beautiful thing. And it will, but also know that the seeds you're depositing in the world also matter too.
Lily, I love that.
Tiara asks, Tai, can you please tell us about your motto, how you begin is half the win? Yeah, so that's the motto of Morning Mindset with Tai, because I realized, and I went through some crazy seasons, man. And like I said, when I moved out here to LA, I was like, what is happening? God, what are you saying to me? What do you want me to do? And I thought to myself, if I can just start the day, if I can start the day with a loving, open heart, with powerful intention, with joy, with happiness, with peace, with the desire to just be here in this moment, if I can start that way, then that's half the battle. And so for me, because of Until Today, and because of hiking, and because of working out and training, I really love fitness. And whatever it is for you, I'm like, if you can start, great. That's half of the battle. So how do we set our intentions in the morning? And that became the model for Morning Mindset with Tai, and just setting, your mindset. So Morning Mindset with Tai is a community, in a space that was created to elevate your heart, your mind, and spirit daily, because how you begin is half the win. And we have 4 key pillars of Morning Mindset. The first is to affirm yourself, affirm God, and affirm others. The next is to move. You move your body, you move your energy, and that's how you shift the atmosphere. And so fitness and wellness is a piece of it. And then you connect. So then you take what that movement is, that energy, and then you connect with other people. You connect with yourself, and you connect with God. And then at the end, you reset. So those are the 4 key pillars of Morning Mindset with Tai. Taking it back to how you begin is half the win. Thank you, Tiara.
I love that.
Thanks, Kelli.
I love that. And I just put it in the chat, your 4 pillars: affirm, move, connect, and reset. And it's interesting. Someone was asking me about SonRise, and I always talk about making it through the night for someone with depression. And so if you can hold on to the sunrise, just hold on to the sunrise, because most people really who have depression or who have suicidal thoughts, it's most of the time overnight. It's nighttime. So let's hold on to the sunrise. Sun is always going to be here. God is always going to give us the sun if we could just hold on. So it's a slight twist and it's a build.
But I
So
love it. I love that. That's connection.
yeah,
Because like
yeah.
we get through the day, we get to the morning and we set that intention and our hearts and our spirits on where we want to go, and then get through, if we can get through the night and hold on and do it again and recognize that beautiful cycle. And when I certainly was depressed. It wasn't diagnosed, but I certainly was depressed when I started Morning Mindset. And I think that's the other thing. It's in recognizing those. What are the tools? What can I do in that moment to help guide myself? And it's worked. I dare I say, I was dealing with anxiety, earlier this year, and fortunately, and last year too. And it's and still applying these principles is what has helped me to get through it. So, any more questions or thoughts? No,
Tai, you're off it. Thank you.
it went off. It did.
That was me. I went off camera for a second because I needed to grab a
I'm
Kleenex.
back.
That was me. Our tech challenges. Sorry. Thank you for being back. Let's see. Yes. Let's do that. I want to wait. What is happening? I want to do that. Okay. I want to get you back on. There we go. Perfect. Yes, we are just about out of time. Does anybody have any other comments or thoughts for Tai? It's been fantastic having you here. Such great reminders.
Well, I love being with you. That's very easy for me and all of you. So thank you all for having me.
Yeah. How
you
can
all,
we support you and what you're doing?
well, you can let's see, you can sign up for our newsletter at morningmindsetwithtai.com. I'll put it here and then I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. With tai.com. And then the social is at Morning Mindset. With Tai, and then it's Tai Bo. I'm trying to think what is my other, and then social. That's it. And then we are Morning Mindset. We're starting to do corporate events as well because we're integrated transformational wellness experience. So there's the mindset piece of it. There's the movement piece. If you're ever in LA, we invite you to come to our hike and experience. It's not just a hike. We're actually doing them on the beach. So I know a lot of people may be a little bit intimidated by the idea of hiking a mountain. I think that hiking a mountain is obviously also metaphorical for life, which was why I fell in love with hiking. It's just really one foot behind the other. But we host our monthly hike experience here in LA, usually the first Saturday of the month. So we have our next hike and experience happening. We're doing it at the beach in Santa Monica on September 2nd. So if any of you want to find your moment of peace here in LA during Labor Day weekend, we invite you to come. And then the next one will be the first Saturday in October. And, if you are looking to really build out your wellness practice and community, we are working on some things actually that Susan and I started a long time ago around coursework. And so there are a lot of developments, but my purpose on this earth is really to be a depositor of joy and support and love, especially to women. And especially to Black women. I think I failed to mention I went to an all-girls high school and then I went to Spelman College. So my love of us is like just real, which I'm trying to also reconcile in the other part of my life because I'm like, is that why I ain't got no man yet? But I'm like, you just a girl's girl. Like
the right one is coming.
You're right, he's coming. Amen. Amen.
Absolutely.
But Kelli, you're always such a great support.
And vice versa. And people, Tai hosted the Crown Awards this year. She's all over everywhere and doing really beautiful things. And what I find to be most important is that she's all about, as you just said, depositing joy and helping people, and such a genuine spirit, such a genuine heart, and also beautiful, brilliant, bold, courageous. and childlike.
Don't stop. I'm just kidding.
Childlike and fun. That's the
I
thing.
am
Like,
fun. I
and
am fun.
and
Yeah.
genuinely like a good human. So everybody on this phone, we're all good people. We're all doing the best we can. We have to give ourselves some grace to take care of ourselves. I'm finally there. That's taken a long time, but I am finally in that place. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here.
Sister.
Will you
Thank
be having another retreat in 2024?
Yeah, so that's a good. Thank you, Kelly. Yes, our next retreat is January 10th through 15th.
Okay.
Next one, and that is going to be in Jamaica. We're not going to Bali then, but we're going to Jamaica, and then we're going to do a retreat here in the United States in Arizona in October of 2024. And there is a chance we may do Bali toward the end of next year, December to January 2024 to 25. We're trying to figure that out, but because we can host so many more people here in the States, Arizona is going to be a big one in October of 2024.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you. We love you. We appreciate you.
I love you.
I'm going to turn it over to Tiara, who's going to close us out with a prayer, and we will keep our day going. So
love and blessings to each of you. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you.
So God, we thank you. We thank you for another Sunrise Sunday. We thank you again for Kelli and family for providing this platform week after week. We thank you for Tai Beauchamp and her sharing her love, light, and perspective. God, your word tells us that we are transformed by the renewing of our minds. We thank you for complete renewal on today. We thank you for giving us to be more intentional about how we start our day. We thank you for giving us peace and comfort and flowing with your plan, even when it contradicts our own, because your plan is perfect for us. Thank you for shifting each of us, no matter how uncomfortable it might be, into our destiny. We pray your blessing over each and every person on this call and their families. May they have a peaceful, powerful, and productive week in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Peaceful,
Amen.
powerful, and productive week. Peaceful, powerful, and productive week filled with joy. Thank you so much, Tai. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Have a beautiful
Love
day.
you too. Everyone have a wonderful day. See you next week.